Welcome to Game Crunch, your weekly video game podcast. My name is Mike Anastasia, and with me today we have Brandon.
Hello.
And we're here talking about games and things.
Hello. Yeah, games and things. We're going to talk about some games and stuff. And things is also a very key word.
Yeah, especially the things.
Mm-hmm.
Because you never know. Could be anything.
I literally watched the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
How was it?
I actually liked it a lot. I'm going to be honest.
I saw the reviews weren't too bad. And then I was like, oh, it's streaming on Peacock. I mean, I was like...
So interesting enough, the reviews by the critics are like dog shit. And by the actual viewers are like 84%.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's a Blumhouse video, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, it's a Blumhouse movie, yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know what you're getting.
Actually, I would say this is the most un-Blumhouse movie I've probably seen.
Really?
Hey, you know what? Yeah, fuck it. Let's just go straight into this real quick. Might as well. It's like 2 hours or maybe or something like that. And it's basically is it's kind of remixing a lot of the story of the like original game, which story of the game, because basically if you don't know, then there is a story. There's a lot of lore to Five Nights at Freddy's, but if you just play the game, you don't really like know that, more or less. But I guess my main point is you follow Mike in the movie, and I'm gonna try to like kind of keep it spoiler free, right?
Why am I in the movie?
Huh?
I said, why am I in the movie?
Oh, got it. Sorry. Okay. Mike in the game is different from the movie, so there's some differences there. But like, it's enough that it's like if you just watch it as its own separate thing, just like if you read the books as their own separate thing, it's like, oh, okay, cool. And you just take like pieces of lore from the books. It's like, okay, and you can take like pieces of lore from the movie as well, and it works really well. So this movie has like not really any gore in it, which is very different from a Blumhouse film. It's PG-13.
Yeah, I saw some people were upset about that.
Yeah, they're kind of stupid. I'm gonna be completely honest. There's like no gore in the actual games, and the games are like marketed towards kids. Why would they make this overly gory and that sort of thing if they're already marketing the game itself towards kids and it's already a massive hit among them? I just don't understand. Like, yeah. I don't understand those people's points of view. Were like, oh, it needed gore, it needed blood, it needed guts, it needed to be an actual R-rated movie. And it's like, do you know like who this is marketed towards? Like the fucking plushies and the figurines and the toys and all that stuff. It's definitely a kids franchise.
Yeah,
they're not gonna make that an R-rated movie, more or less. And I get why this wasn't made R, and I think with the PG-13 here in this film, they did everything they could with it. They did do some of the like gory scenes, but they did them like as shadows. So like, for instance, there's a very popular thing among the game where someone is being put into the thing, like the animatronic, and they get bitten in half, eaten, that sort of thing. And that happens at one point in this movie. And I would say the main thing about this movie is it's a lot of fan service. Like, if you followed every single one of the games and know like general characters and that sort of thing, you'd be like, holy shit, that's really cool. I like what they did here. That's really neat. They did that very well. And the animatronics look actually incredible in this movie. They look very really good
from what I saw from the end.
Yeah, they look incredibly good. And they didn't go a route that you think they would go. So, murderous animatronics in the game. They still have that, but if you know more about, and I'm trying to like tiptoe around it, because I do think the plot line's actually pretty good for the movie. I don't think it's bad, like, at all. And I think it makes sense if you know, like, lore aspects from the game already to go this sort of route, because it also gives you a lot more time with the actual animatronics up close, and it lets that kind of creep factor and kind of like eeriness sort of settle in without it just being nonstop killing spree, nonstop killing spree, nonstop killing spree, or anything like that. So I'm
Yeah.
go ahead and tell you that right now. It's not that. It is not a nonstop killing spree. It is actually a very well developed movie, in my opinion, that builds the character, builds the place, gives everyone like a reason for what they're doing, including eventually the murderous animatronics. And
Yeah.
I think it's done incredibly well. Like I was watching the film, and before I got to the end, I was like, this is like a solid 6. But like by the end of it, I was like, yeah, this is like a 7. This is a 7 out of 10. Pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty
Yeah,
good.
that's pretty solid.
Yeah. So I'm pretty harsh on films also, but I also know that when it comes to like Five Nights at Freddy's, everything's so disjointed and the lore is such a fucking mess that just kind of adding more of a mess to it while still being like what's the word I'm looking for? Canon with a lot of the information we have from the games in the film is like super cool. Like they did a good job of doing their own thing while still like paying homage to the games in a really neat way. So, yep.
Yeah.
And they even like, and I'm not going to spoil it or which one it is, but there's a very, very popular song that was made by a YouTuber for the original Five Nights at Freddy's video game 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's the ending theme to the movie.
Okay, that's cool.
Like they actually got their song put into the movie, and it's like actually like it's one of those like fan moments where it's like, holy shit, that's a thing I know that happened in the space of the Five Nights at Freddy's scene, that sort of thing. And that's really neat that they care a lot about the source material in a way while still doing their own movie. And I thought it was super cool. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really neat.
It definitely sets itself up for a sequel, and supposedly they're already filming one. So.
Oh, I'm sure they are. It sounds like that movie did. I think it was something like the best Blumhouse movie sales-wise. Like,
it is actually the best video game movie sales-wise now, beating out the Mario Brothers movie.
No, it has not beat the Mario Brothers
yes,
movie.
it has. It has.
No.
It has.
No, there's no way.
It has.
The Mario Brothers movie was $1 billion movie.
It was 150.
No. It did over $1 billion.
That was I'm talking about in theaters.
Oh, okay.
In theater revenue. Sorry. Let me clarify that. My bad.
Yeah.
And opening night alone.
The Mario Brothers movie was like the largest.
Yeah, and opening night
largest animated movie of all time.
The movie made like $50 million opening night alone. So
that's
like,
good. Yeah.
And I think in theaters, I mean that's also not counting like streaming, but whatever. But yeah, it's worth a watch. I watched it streaming. I didn't go to the theaters. I don't find myself going to theaters anymore, like ever. But I had a lot of fun.
Ever go back to a
and
theater,
like
except for popcorn.
So like we've been watching. You can get theater popcorn really cheap.
Oh, I know. Store. I think you could even DoorDash it, honestly.
They use a specific kind, and you can kind of make it yourself, and it's not that hard. Yeah. Well, I'll leave that alone. But anyway, it depends on what theater you go to, what kind they use. But anyway, what I was trying to say is the film did incredibly well. I think it was only a $20 million budget, and they crushed it by making $50 million in the first night alone. So that's actually nuts. And it was really enjoyable, and I watched it because I've been watching a lot of horror films with both Katie and my mom this year. And we watched it with her, and she got the gist of the movie, and she understood it without knowing any of the lore. So it's very self-contained in a way where someone that's never played the games can just watch this and be like, okay, I understand this. Cool. And like have a good time while watching it. So I think that they do enough things that are very respectable towards the characters and the way they've been created, as well as like the world and the way it's been created, while not following the same plot line, really works to kind of make this a movie that can be watched by anyone and not just fans of the film.
That's good.
So yeah, good movie.
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. It's definitely on my to watch list. I was very interested in it just from the previews. Like I thought it looked really good. So. But I don't have Peacock right now, so it'll be one of those ones we subscribe, which we will eventually.
We always keep it because wrestling is on Peacock, like WWE is. So we always keep Peacock because I don't know if you know this, but like WWE doesn't do pay-per-views anymore.
Oh,
Instead,
no,
all you have to do is be subscribed to Peacock, and you get to watch every single pay-per-view event for free
oh, nice.
through
That's
Peacock.
awesome.
So that's what they do instead. So we get like $50 pay-per-views for free just because we're subscribed to Peacock.
Yeah, that's great.
And I mean, if you haven't already like looked around, some of the best horror content is on Peacock this year, which is awesome. So
We've been watching on where were we? Hulu. I think we watched a bunch on.
watch some on Hulu, watch some on Freevee, which is a new thing that's actually pretty cool. But I think that's only on Roku TVs.
Freevee is also in Amazon Prime.
It's good. It's got some really good horror movies on there right now. Highly recommend that one. And then I think we also watched Tubi.
Yeah, Tubi's one of those channels that always surprises me because it seems like you would think just based on the concept it would just be shit, but it's always got like lots of good classic movies on it.
Do you know what they added to Tubi? Because they have like Tubi channels, like stations, basically
Oh, no.
their own form of cable. They have an entire channel dedicated to Godzilla movies, and they play Godzilla movies all day long.
Did not know that. That's very
like all the
random.
Toho movies, and it's fucking awesome. And it's kind of one of like the only places you can watch them.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I found that's kind of like only streaming on Tubi. We're like, okay, yeah. So what else?
I played through Alan Wake Remastered.
Okay. Nice.
So I was kind of talking about this in our chat, and I have a lot of thoughts on Alan Wake Remastered. I wanted to play Alan Wake 2. I was able to get Alan Wake 2. I've played a little bit of Alan Wake 2, like 6 hours, but we'll get to that in just a minute. But first I want to go through Alan Wake Remastered. I haven't played Alan Wake.
What system did you play it on?
PS5.
Okay.
I have not played Alan Wake since like its inception, basically. And playing the remastered version, oh boy, that remastered version's kind of garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know the Switch version is like really bad, right? But the PS5 version drops a lot of frames and kind of feels not very good from a technical standpoint. And I played the entirety of it on PS5. It also doesn't look as good as something like the PC version, and the PC version's like updates and everything. Like, you don't need a powerful system to be able to update it that much, and you sure as fuck wouldn't drop frames on a PS5 when firing your flare gun. It shouldn't be happening. It's just a really bad port, basically, is what I'm saying.
It sounded like that, yeah.
But here's the thing, right? It still allowed me to play back through Alan Wake in a like modernized way, and it was still a very enjoyable thing to go through and like read all the pages and do all this, that, and the other. And they added QR codes that kind of bridge the gap between all of the games and into Alan Wake 2. Because this remaster released last year, and the QR codes, when you scan them, it takes you to like a YouTube video where Alan Wake basically talks to you. But he's kind of explained the things that you're going through in the game right now, but also it is the live action version of him that's in Alan Wake 2. Again, we will get to in a few minutes. But yeah, it's really neat. I still think Alan Wake is one of the best horror games ever made, like easily. It is so fucking good. I do have some issues, some nitpicks. I think the story is fucking phenomenal and probably one of the best stories in video games. Period. That's just it. Period. It is so well written. It is so well handled. The voice acting is phenomenal. The characters are fantastic. The story actually makes sense while still being a bit convoluted, and it also branches out a lot over time. I'm going to give away a little bit of the story of the first game while I'm talking about this, so spoilers. But as you pick up like the manuscript pages that you've written and that sort of thing throughout the game, when you hear him read back in like the new version of the game, it's like super cool. It's super well done. It's very neat. It's cool. And I really enjoyed how it brought everything together. But the biggest issue I have with Alan Wake from 2010 is the fact that it's a game from 2010.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not
And
unreasonable criticism. Games were
yeah,
definitely built differently then.
yeah, the gameplay is kind of contrived, in my opinion. So what I mean by that is every single chapter of Alan Wake Remastered, which is Alan Wake from the Xbox 360, finds a reason to take away all of your weapons and everything you had in the last chapter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you were starting out like a Metroid game and you were super powerful, you had all your weapons after the first chapter, and then it was taken away from you. But do that every level, and it really gets old. It really gets old. Now, granted, from a story standpoint, every single one of them makes sense for the reasons that you had them taken away from you. You were arrested. You were drugged. You were in a car accident, so on and so forth. All the reasons make sense. So it's not done in a way that's like, okay, well, this doesn't make sense, but it's definitely done in a way that when you're playing it, you recognize that this is just slowing down the pace and trying to build tension, and it works. It works very well. But the problem with Alan Wake 1 is it's not scary. So the tension's not there. It's not really something that I care about, and I become more annoyed at the gameplay aspects of it due to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like the game's a bit dated because it does that in every single chapter. All of your guns are gone by the next chapter start. All your flashlight, if you've upgraded it, completely gone by the start of the next chapter. And it gets really tedious and really annoying because it's like I always knew going into like chapter 4 when I was like super powerful, I was like, okay, cool, I'm about to lose all of this once I get to the next part and finish this chapter. And sure enough, every single time it would happen. And it was just kind of a little bit of a slog to play through because of that mechanic. But I still think that the writing, the storytelling, the voice acting, the character work, all of it is fucking phenomenal and worth sitting through. Like the story is like 10 out of 10. The gameplay is like a 5 or a 6. Like it's not terrible, but it's aged. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely aged. It's definitely from an era. And I enjoyed my time with Alan Wake, the first game. I played all the way through it, and I thought it was fantastic. Still, like I still had a really good time with it. Like probably solid 8 out of 10 because of the performance problems and just the gameplay being dated more or less. Otherwise it'd be like a 9. But I did this for a reason, and it was because I wanted to play Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point.
Okay.
So I want to talk about Alan Wake 2.
Okay.
I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off first and foremost. And say, you know what, Mike? I may have lied.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. You already called it before. I may have lied. So I'm sorry about this.
Typical Brandon.
I know. I may have lied, and I didn't mean to. But I did preference that this was something that could change my mind. And I will say, 6 hours into this game, this is the best game I've played in like 10 fucking years. This game is fucking amazing.
I don't know. It's too soon.
No. Okay, so apparently the game is like 12 to 14 hours long, and I'm like 6 hours into it. This game is a mindfuck that does everything. I'm talking, we've got hints to Quantum Break, we've got Control, we've got everything inside of this game.
You're starting to sound like Stefan from SNL.
The entirety of this game is every Remedy game that exists rolled up into one in one universe. And it is done in such a way that makes sense and doesn't feel campy and forced. And it is done so well that you actually buy the whole multiple like universe sort of deal.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a spoiler for the original Alan Wake game. By the end of it, you're kind of trapped in the dark place, continuing to write your story. And we end the story on, it's not a lake, it's an ocean. That is the final sentence that is said in Alan Wake 1. in the entire game before cut to end credits.
Mm-hmm.
That line is brought up in this game in the most fever dream, crazy bullshit way I have ever seen something like this handled. This game swaps back and forth between CGI cutscenes, in-game cutscenes, and live-action cutscenes, and at points in times, I cannot tell which is which.
Oh, that's
because
cool.
this game looks fucking incredible. This is literally the best-looking game I have ever seen. This is a fucking phenomenal-looking game. This is like peak graphics for a video game. This is like easily the best thing Next Gen Systems has seen to date. Like easily. It is at points and times like if you have a high-end PC and go that route as well, if you actually can run all the bells and whistles, which takes a shit ton to do, it is near photorealistic at times with how good it fucking looks. And that is incredible. So obviously there's going to be downgrades for PS5 and Series X and that sort of thing. But it's not that big a downgrades. And it does the multimedia thing well enough that many of the music tracks in this game play back into the DLCs, play into Control, and even at times play into like the mini worlds quantum theory stuff and kind of go to Quantum Break and quantum mechanics without actually being like, hey, that institute where those things were done. All of this stuff comes together in such an amazing way that I will tell you like an example of how good it is played in with each other. And it's a very, very minor spoiler. You play as, at the beginning, this new character. I'm not going to reveal any of their names, but it's two FBI agents, basically. And of the new FBI agents that you're playing as, one of them you play as, and the other one you don't. He's just your partner. And you're exploring Cauldron Lake, which is the lake and everything that Alan Wake originally took place at, where all that stuff happened and whatnot.
At the Alan Wake Lake?
Yeah, exactly. The Alan Wake Lake. And this game immediately lets it be known that Alan Wake disappeared 13 years ago. The same amount of time that it actually took between these two games releasing, which is kind of fucking cool. And it's kind of meta in a way, but at the same time not. Like, it just kind of uses the amount of time between the last Alan Wake game and this one as the actual time frame for what happens in this game as well. How much do you remember from the original Alan Wake?
Very little.
Okay. So at one point in the original Alan Wake, there is a FBI agent known as Nightingale who has arrested you, and you're trying to convince him about the dark presence and everything that's like, you know, chasing you, doing this, that, and the other. And then he's like, yeah, sure, whatever, you know, fuck you. You're full of shit. You're just trying to find a way out. And then like the door fucking flies open and he gets snatched away by the dark presence and out into it as the entire place starts being engulfed in darkness while you're locked up in your cell and like screaming for someone to let you out in the first Alan Wake game. But that guy's just gone. He's just fucking gone.
Okay.
All right, and he doesn't come back for the rest of Alan Wake, like, period. This game opens with you playing as him after he's come out from the lake 13 years later.
Okay.
You're wandering around as him completely naked.
Honestly, he's probably a bit pruny too, I would think.
That is actually something that happens. He's bloated, he's water bloated, he's completely naked, he has no clothes on, and you play as him at the start of Alan Wake 2. And you're running along the trail up from the lake after being spat out by it, and you're like screaming at onlookers and everything to like help you and that sort of thing, because you're still being chased by the dark presence that it originally had brought you in. But something brought you out, and as you're running through the trail, you run into these people at a park bench, and as you're like screaming for them to help you, they like grab you and tie you down and ritualistically cut out your heart and fucking take it from you and then replace it with something else.
Okay.
And that is the opening to Alan Wake 2. You get
All right.
ritualistically sacrificed by playing as a character from the original game. And then you play as the FBI agents that have to investigate it. Which those moments where you play as the FBI agents are kind of like LA Noirish, and
Okay.
it's really neat the way you have to like look around the crime scene and everything and find clues and then piece it together in this thing called like your mind palace, where you can go to this place that's essentially like the precinct but in your head, where you're able to like take pieces of the pictures that you've taken from the crime scene and items you've taken for the crime scene and put them up on a pegboard and kind of connect them together and try to answer questions and figure out things, which then gives you more access to dialogue that you can use to talk to different characters around the world to try to figure out what's going on. So there's a lot of really cool mystery crime drama things going on here that's super neat, and the detective aspect is super fucking cool. Really, really neat. This game's scary, like really scary, like legitimately really scary. Like even putting those things out there, where like I was just explaining the like detective elements and everything. There's some stuff that happens where essentially your game will be interrupted by flashing visions that are very loud and very abrupt of different things, be it whatever you're hunting at this moment in time or whatever is hunting them at that moment in time, or even just Alan Wake coming over and kind of like fizzling into view, but looking like disheveled and losing his fucking mind in the dark place as he's like writing frantically and just like screaming about it not working and this, that, and the other. And I will tell you, before you get to chapter 2, another person gets spat out of the ocean in the same way that Agent Nightingale was spat out, and that second person is Alan Wake, and then you get to play as Alan Wake again, and then it is crazy the shit he goes through. His missions and stages are done in such a psychedelic fever dream trippy way that when you're playing through them, it does feel like playing through a dream at times, but it still makes sense and it connects into the original game, into Control, into so many other things, and it's fucking incredible. I will go back one more time to the FBI agent that I was just telling you about. When you first get to the lake, when you first gain control of this FBI agent that you're using and everything, and you get through the like part that is basically wrapped off, corded off, like you aren't supposed to go past here, no trespassing, because obviously all the deaths and things that happen in the original Alan Wake caused them to close up the lake, but you're going to investigate it and whatnot. And so when you get there, there's someone working on a giant building that is over to the right, and like when you're being led there by like the police officers of Night Springs, they're kind of like, that came here a few years back. It's supposed to be a way to like detect people that are breaking in and whatnot. And you talk to the guy that's working on it, and he tells you, he's just here to do maintenance to make sure that like they can keep an eye on everyone and everything's going okay. And you ask him where he's from, and he says, I'm from the FBC. And then you're like, what is the FBC? And he's like, I'm from the Federal Bureau of Control, and I'm here to help keep an eye on this lake right now. And they're like, your character's like, okay, I guess it's just someone that has like jurisdiction in this area or whatever, because I've never heard of them. And he couldn't really tell what they did because that was classified. He couldn't give you that information or anything. So you're just like, okay, fine. All right, whatever. And you don't really think anything of it, but if you know about Control, then you know what's going on here. And as you explore the lake as the FBI agent, you'll find like dolls and things inside of like buildings, and you can like pick them up, and you can read all these like things that are written by Control, where they used objects of power to try to recreate things, to try to draw something, to draw something out, to do something. And they're not the ones that caused the lake to come back into existence and the dark entity and everything. But they didn't help, and they've really fucked around, essentially, and you're going to find out how much they've fucked around. They've got like cameras and shit put up in different buildings and places and whatnot, and they've got like all these sort of things like that you would see in like Control, like set up throughout the forest, and they're doing it in their own little way by using objects of power to essentially try to find the answers that they want. And when you solve the riddle, then you get items that were left behind by the Federal Bureau of Control, but you have to solve different riddles to be able to figure out how to get those items. And I'm going to leave what those items are alone and not really reveal what they are. But the Federal Bureau of Control, the people that are actually from Control, do get mentioned a lot in this game and are actual characters that have interacted with this world that you know about and that you as an FBI agent also research into when doing all the research in the the lake, essentially, to figure out what's going on. And then when you play the Alan Wake stages, like it hops, like I said, between CGI, live action, and actual in-game stuff so often that it's really hard to tell when it's which one and when it's the other one. Obviously, it's a little bit easier to tell when it's live action because it's very, very, like, you know, obviously this is live action. But the CGI is not really bad and not very far off, to be completely honest. And it's very, very well done. And the elements where you have those live action elements makes sense, because if you take into account like the original game where you would like look at the TVs and you would see the live action like videos of the Night Spring show, which was similar to like the Twilight Zone, in this one you're able to look into the TVs and you're able to see from Alan Wake's point of view things like his interviews that he had, but they're not the same that they used to be, and there's some other stuff going on. And there's some other stuff here just in general. And I mean, it's just so fucking cool. Like, everything about this game is so well done. It's so incredible. The story is great. There's so many crossover characters. Some I'm not revealing, but yeah, it makes sense the way they're in here, to the point where it's like, okay, this doesn't feel forced. This makes sense. Kind of like how I was explaining how the FBC works here and whatnot to you. Like, oh, they have done the impossible and made like a cinematic universe basically of a video game developer, and they've gotten them all to combine together, and it works really fucking well.
That's good.
I would love to go into more detail about how like every item from the original game is used, and it explains so many more things about where this came from and what this did, and how we need this again, or we need to find this item and this, that, and the other. And I'd love to explain like the crazy shit that goes on, but it would actually be doing a disservice, because like you really need to play this game. This game is fucking phenomenal. So yeah, it is. Okay. It is the best story-driven game I have played in years, easily. And I think this like kind of cemented it as like Remedy is probably one of my favorite developers now of all time.
I mean, it's quite a statement, but you know, they have a decent track record.
I loved Control. You know how much I loved Control.
Yeah.
This is better. And even though it has those elements of like, you know, like a Sony game where it's like, oh, we got really long cutscenes, we got this, that, and the other, and not as much gameplay. The investigations and the way it's handled kind of disguise the walking sim elements in a way, because it does feel really tense when you're doing these investigations, because they are like really gory, really bloody, really like disgusting, like climbing through this crime scene and combing over every little individual detail, and then being able to like put it together in your mind palace and figure out the way to talk with people to get more information and that sort of thing. And I think that does enough to like differentiate from something like a fucking like 20-minute cutscene by like some Sony game or like some other game similar to like, I don't know, Death Stranding or Metal Gear Solid 4, where the act of exploration is the gameplay. And it actually feels like gameplay, even though it's not like traditional gameplay, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So a lot of people might look at this game and be like, oh, this is kind of like a walking sim, but like there's enough here that you actually need to interact with that I do not agree with that, essentially. So yeah, this game is awesome. Alan Wake 2, fantastic. Put it in the running for Game of the Year. Easy.
Okay.
Easy
money. Or easy spoops.
Yeah, it's, like I said, it's pretty scary.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check it out. I seem to remember enjoying the first one for the most part, aside from a couple things. I don't remember. It's been long enough, though. I don't even remember what I did not enjoy about it. Probably because, like you said, it definitely is a 2010 game.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely did not play it in 2010. So, just kind of that, 2 generation ago jank. But, yeah, no, I remember it being, like, at least a good concept.
The concept's incredible, and they've gone so far with it now in the second one that's like, yeah.
Yeah. So what else? Anything else?
I don't think I have any other things to talk about. I really just needed to gush about Alan Wake for a moment. Okay. And, I've mentioned before, like, Control originally had its DLC that was directly tied into Alan Wake. And, I mean, that literally ties into this game. So I would at least recommend watching a video of the Control DLC, because it ties directly into Alan Wake 2.
Okay.
Or just play Control. Control's fucking amazing.
Yeah, I've not played Control either.
Which is a shame.
I mean, it's not any particular reason why I have not. I just have not. Definitely is something that could play it, but I just have not played it.
It's a shame.
Well, I said one of these days. I'm sure I will. I just haven't. I don't know. I don't know why. I really don't know why I have not played it. Just have not. So probably because I've been too busy playing stupid Vampire Survivors. That's probably why.
Oh, what? You still in that hole? You still playing Vampire Survivors?
Yeah, I bought the DLC.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, so I've been playing that. And then, I did buy games for Halloween. I did buy Amnesia and the Resident Evil remake. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, at least I'll play one of these. Nope, I haven't played them. Just
Vampire Survivor?
Vampire Survivor. Yeah.
Yeah, I told you, dude, it takes a hold of you. It sinks its teeth in. You think it's nothing when you start playing, and then over time it reveals more and more aspects of itself that like really just draw you in.
Yeah,
and keep you there.
I'm getting close to the end of that, like the Vampire Survivors train, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can feel it now. Like I'm definitely getting to the end. I've done a majority of the achievements. I think I only have like 20 left.
So you probably unlocked like the other 7 characters and that sort of thing as well, and all that good jazz.
I think I've unlocked most of the characters. The one character that I pointed out last week when I was watching your video, that's one of the few I have not unlocked yet. But otherwise, yeah, I've gotten a lot of the unlockable characters. I do have to say, at least from what it seems, the DLC wise, the first DLC does not seem as nearly as deep as the second one does.
Nope, the second one's super deep.
Yeah, the second one is super deep and has some really cool stuff there. I think the weapons are more enjoyable and kind of add more to the game.
They also synergize really well with like everything else.
Yes, they do. And then there's kind of like a new kind of, I don't know. I mean, this game I guess has story, but it doesn't really like tell you anything.
It has lore. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah,
it has
probably a better way to put it. Yeah. And so obviously, like, as I'm going through like the second DLC, you're like, oh, it kind of forces you with like the stuff to do to kind of go through like a progression, and then there's another boss there that's kind of cool, and you're like, oh, that's neat. I did all this stuff. I unlocked this new character, and I'm working on unlocking this other character, and yeah. So I mean, that stuff's all really cool, and you definitely get some like game breaking weapons. I feel like. So through the game, I don't know which one it is in particular, but a couple of weapons have managed to like break the game for me. Like they let me clip through walls, which had put me into issues. One of them I was in the did you play through both the DLC stuff?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so
I have like 60 or 80 hours in this game.
I did check last week, and I was at 15, so I'm sure I'm close to 30 at this point.
Very nice.
Well, at least 15, because you know how the Switch is like, you've played 15 or more hours of this, so it's less than 20, but more than 15.
Yeah.
Which is where I was last week. So
I'm at 65. That's what I'm at right now.
So anyways, the second DLC, you kind of have that introductory stage, and then after an event, you get to go to a different stage. So I was in that second stage, and I was there, and I got that one. So there's like this prism that you can upgrade, which makes things basically like a disco area.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yep.
And that like basically that is definitely like one of the game-breaking weapons. Because I think that's the one that was responsible for me letting it clip through walls. So, so anyways, I'm walking through that stage, and the other problem is too, at least visually, so that effect, it does have the, kind of the disco effect, which is fine, but also it kind of has like that spinning kind of vortex clock looking thing in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Visually, that made it very difficult for me to walk through that second stage because it's so dark. And so that animation takes up a lot of that space there, and I'm like, I don't know where I'm walking, and then all of a sudden I'm like pushing against the wall, and then I'm like, I just pushed through it, and then I'm just like walking around trying to find like what to do, and I'm like, can't figure it out. I killed a lot of shit in the 30 minutes that I had. Eventually a Reaper showed up, and I don't even think, not like the 30-minute Reaper eventually showed up, but like a Green Reaper showed up, because I think it was like, you're not supposed to be here, so I'm gonna kill you. But it couldn't kill me because it couldn't catch me. So yeah, so I just kind of fucked around with that for a while. But yeah, so I mean, really, I've done like pretty much most of the DLC stuff. Stuff I still have remaining, like achievement wise, are I still have a bunch of like the Arcanas or whatever to unlock. So just like, and those are usually all of the ones I have left are get X character to level 50. So there's just a couple characters I have to play through. I have like, I think a couple enemies that I still have not seen yet. Or a couple enemies and a couple items I haven't seen yet.
Okay. Yeah, I think I have 75% of the 100% completion for this game.
Yeah, I mean, if it's by achievements, I probably have to beat, because I'm at like, I think 160 out of like 100, and at least mine right now says 180 something achievements. I've realized though, as you unlock things,
so the achievements on Steam says I'm at 148 of 196, but I don't know what that equates to with console achievements.
I believe it's the same.
Okay. So then you probably do have me beat when it comes to achievements.
Yeah. Because like I said, I know as you unlock things, there are like new achievements that seem to kind of like pop up.
I'm trying to find the power up you were talking about, the disco one. I don't remember what it's called either.
I can tell you.
Yeah, that would be great, because I don't actually remember what it's called.
Oh, it's... I think the base... No, that's the character. Hold on. It looks like a pearl.
Fuck.
What's that? The upgraded version is the Luminaire. The prismatic missile is what it's called at base.
Oh, okay. Fuck. Why do I not see this anywhere? Am I stupid? Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, okay. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that one is basically like, I don't know. Switch definitely chugs along once you have that one on, and then the stage just gets a bit
I see.
So, oh, excuse me. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I've been playing through that. I've been doing obviously quite a lot of it. It is really easy to get sucked into it, because there's a lot to do. And I feel like the more that you add on, to there in terms of different things that they have and different unlocks, you're right. It just kind of pushes it in there. Although, like, I realized though, like, once people finish the achievements, they're like, "All right, now go like lucky Hanga hunting or whatever," and I'm like, "Fuck
Oh
that
goodness,
noise."
that is just no.
Yeah, no, thank you. Um, yeah, so it's just I don't know, it just becomes a lot the more that you do. So, um, yeah, so but I really enjoy it. Like, I mean, I definitely have gotten my $5 out of it, and then I don't know, whatever $2 I spent on the DLC, even though I really didn't spend that much because I had gold coins. So I think I've probably spent a grand total of like $2 on this game. And yeah, no, I definitely recommend it for anyone kind of looking for something to play with because I don't know, it's really easy to get sucked in. Like you said, there's definitely like a lot of depth there,
Hmm.
and once every time you think you've finished, you know, everything that you can, something else pops up,
Yep.
and yeah, it's never ending. Uh, yeah, so that is a lot of fun. And apparently they just had, I don't know if you played it. They did have a recent update too with a
I have
new
not played
stage.
any recent update. I really need to check. And they added a new stage. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
Oh my god. Okay.
a
Oh
new
fuck.
stage. I think a new character, some other stuff. I forget what it's called. Something whiteout or something.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah. So you're actually
Yep.
behind the times. So
Yep.
I have
Yep.
not
Yep.
played it yet because for whatever reason, the Switch is the only one that has not had it come out yet. But yeah, no, it is. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun. Definitely enjoy it, and yeah, no, I'm not surprised why people have been really digging this, and yeah, definitely when you were like, oh, it's gonna come out to Switch eventually. Yeah, no, it makes sense because it's
Oh, I got a thing here. Sorry for the delays on the other platforms. Despite being ready for weeks, the Whiteout update is actually still not approved for release on any of the other platforms. The blocker is on another platform, not on Steam. It was the usage of the term flashing VFX in the options menu that caused it to get blocked on other platforms. Last time I mentioned that we wanted to always release patches globally because we know how frustrating it is to receive updates late only because of our platform of choice is not the main one. Your platform of choice is not the main one. But with the level of silliness in return, it becomes unfair to all other players to hold back a release because a single platform is that slow to approving us. For some nonsense reasons. Going forward, we'll stick to our release pipeline and try to anticipate all the submissions as much as possible, but then we won't wait for all the approval processes to be finished to release new patches on PC. Sorry if content gets delayed on other platforms. We'll keep trying our best, but we have so much more content to release before the end of 2023, and we really can't afford longer waiting times at this point. We are sorry in advance. It is not our fault. We apologize to anyone playing on any other platforms.
yeah,
So it
it's
sounds like
really
Nintendo looked at it and was like, no.
yeah, they're probably it's like they said, what was it, the flashing lights warning or whatever they said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand why maybe that would slow them down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
This game turns into like a slideshow at some point, so it really is just like a seizure machine.
Yeah, probably.
Um, but yeah, no, it's like I said, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun stuff there, so definitely highly recommend. Everything that's there, and I don't know. Do I have anything else exciting to say about it? No, I don't think I have anything exciting really to say about anything else either, because that's
Right.
basically been my week. Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, mine has
So
been Alan Wake, so we're kind of in the same boat.
yeah. The good news is next week though, we got WarioWare Move, whatever.
Yeah,
It's coming out, so I'll have that to talk about.
I'll
Like I
probably
said,
have finished Alan Wake 2 by then to be able to formulate my entire opinion.
yeah. Then
Without
there is
spoilers, at least until
until
for
that
the
time.
time being, until the time for spoilers.
Yeah, and then there also is we are like dangerously close to Mario RPG, which I am
I know, and I don't
stupid
have money,
excited for.
so I'm pretty upset about that. Rip.
Yeah. So I'm sure you'll get there. Get Mario RPG eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I will definitely. Like I said right now, I explained before we started, I got kind of fucked over by eBay. So my money that was for like personal purchases and stuff, I can't really spend it because eBay fucked me.
Yeah, which is sucks.
Fucking
Unfortunately.
garbage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no. So we're in the season of fun new releases. So things are coming. There's that. What else is there? Any other like big stuff that's kind of like eminently releasing? I feel like this is not a really very exciting holiday release season.
Upcoming games 2023. I actually heard that the RoboCop game is really fucking good.
Yeah,
That's releasing very soon. RoboCop. Is it already out? Am I dumb? Let me check.
I remember you talking about it last week, but I don't know
No,
if
it
it was
comes out
out
in 2
already.
days. It's the demo is out, but the full game comes out in 2 days. And yeah, people that got like early review code are like gushing about it. So
Oh, good.
that's kind of cool. Let's see upcoming release schedule real quick. So I guess we'll just hop over to November. Boy howdy, we got RoboCop, and then WarioWare. You already mentioned that. What the fuck is this? Nope. I Like a Dragon Gaiden. So new Like a Dragon game. Yakuza, new Yakuza game. Modern Warfare 3 comes out in 2 days, I think. Hogwarts Legacy for the Switch comes out on the 14th. Oh boy.
Oh yeah, I already saw people were threatening to boycott that.
I'm sure that'll work really well for them, just like last time.
Yeah, that seemed to be the consensus.
Persona 5 Tactica, that's coming out in November. And then December's got not a whole lot.
No, there's a rumor. I don't
like nothing really, but I will say it looks like Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora is releasing on December 7th, and Disney Dreamlight Valley will finally release on December 5th. But they decided not to go free to play, so now they're charging more than what they were already charging to get in on early access for the game.
Interesting.
So they're just raising the price and calling it a fucking day, basically.
Yeah.
It's stupid.
There was a rumor. I don't think it's real because you never know with like a lot of things. But they were saying there was some leaker that was saying something Zelda's going to get shadow dropped by the end of the year, like a remaster.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. Maybe it wouldn't be like the first time that Nintendo has ever done something kind of wild like that. Although I feel like in the grand scheme of things, that would have gotten a little bit more fanfare than like a Twitter drop being like, "Hey guys, Wind Waker's coming out."
They'll probably
tomorrow.
just do like a YouTube video and be like, update on what's coming next for Nintendo. Wind Waker HD.
Yeah, I mean they usually don't do it though, like outside of Nintendo Direct. But we always go back to the Paper Mario Origami.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, just kind of Twitter announced and like coming out next month. Be like, okay, well that's a big new release that just kind of shadow drop. Not shadow drop, just kind of release without announced without little fanfare. So possible, but I still think I would put it squarely in the unlikely category. Although they just kind of, I guess, Nintendo announcements. This one's not like super far fetched, but they did announce today their kind of next wave of the Nintendo online like games that they're putting out. And there was kind of a surprising one there. Devil World was released or will be released. I don't think it's updated today. I think in the near future. For the NES will be coming out. It's never released in the US, so that one is actually kind of new and exciting title. Also Muramasa Castle or whatever, which they did release, I think, on the 3DS. So that one is at least mildly more new and exciting. And then you have I think it was like a Castlevania Game Boy game, I think is what it was. But yeah, so bunch of new exciting stuff there. But I don't know, it was not really like a big news week. Like I said last week, we're in the middle of kind of release season, so news has kind of trickled down and it's just kind of more, getting through the holiday stuff. Pokemon did go back through it and kind of reiterate somewhere that the second DLC is supposed to be out winter 2023, which means within the next month-ish, we should expect to see that. So that's coming. But yeah, it's not. I don't know. I just feel like this is not a very exciting winter. Like, there's good games that came out, in the span of last few months and this last year. But
oh yeah,
it's not. I don't feel like this winter's as packed as it used to be in like the good old days. Like, you talk about your big kind of tentpole titles here, really, like Spider-Man 2, which came out last week. You got Mario Wonder, which will sell well, no doubt.
So here's the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo released this year Pikmin 4,
mm-hmm.
Mario RPG is soon, Mario Wonder,
mm-hmm. Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep, sorry, forgot about that. How could I forget about that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of
what are you asking for? Other big titles, or
other big titles released at Nintendo.
They did Metroid Prime Remastered. That was this year.
That was December.
That was March.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was after they shadow dropped it at the Spring Direct. That's what that one was. I know you love it. Fire Emblem
Engage. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Your game of the year.
Yeah.
What else did they have? They had that not new, remake Kirby game, which, whatever. They can suck a thing.
Yep.
They've been busy. Oh, Advance Wars 1+2, that reboot camp. That was there.
Yep.
Feel like F-Zero 99, not like a huge tentpole title, but new release, I suppose. And then they had some DLC stuff. Xenoblade had its big DLC. Mario Kart still doing their DLC. So I mean, Nintendo's had
that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft released Age of Empires 4, Starfield, and Forza. That's it. Sony released Spider-Man. That's it. Literally no console other than Nintendo has been releasing games this year, like for first-party titles.
Yeah, that's wild. And especially considering how many, whatever, Sony has been kind of sluggish with their releases lately. I think
this
they're
year,
going through like
Sony is not doing so good, in my opinion.
No, I mean, and and they said this year, they're like, the supply chain issues are finally fixed. Okay, well, about time. It's been like 4 years.
Now can you make some games?
Yeah, and that's the issue we complain about every year. We're like, well, PlayStation 5, it's at least spec-wise, it's a solid system, but, some games would be nice. And they're like, well, here's one game. Like, okay, how about a game that's made...
We got Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, how about a game that's made just for the PlayStation 5 that takes advantage of, like, the graphics and does not...
You got Spider-Man
2. By previous generations.
I mean, Spider-Man 2 is made just for PS5, but it's the only game that they released this year.
Yeah.
It's the only one, which makes me be like, what the fuck?
Yeah, Sony has a lot of development studios. It's like, what are they working on? And Microsoft has even more now, and they're just kind of like, well, here's 3 games. Yeah. It's like you have like 70 studios, and you can make only 3 games?
Yeah, okay, so here's what people are trying to say are the PlayStation 5 exclusive games. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy 16, because it's a 6-month time exclusive, which I guess Spider-Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then the VR games that they released for PSVR 2. And it's just like, shut the fuck up. No one's playing PSVR 2 because it costs more than the console that you need to play PSVR 2.
Yeah, it's a stretch. Definitely a stretch.
So, like, literally, the only first-party game for PlayStation was Spider-Man 2. Yeah. I guess people are saying Forspoken also, because it was also only on PC and PlayStation, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm counting that one. Also, Forspoken is dog shit, so...
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're desperate to count something, I mean, sure.
Supposedly, the reason why we didn't get a lot of things for Sony this year, I guess I'll go into this one, which is a little bit of news, is that they were putting all their eggs in the basket of live service games.
Oh, yeah, and apparently they...
And then when everyone was like, that's a fucking terrible idea, I won't buy any of your live service shit, they're like, oh god, turn the boat around, we have to start over. And so they, like, scrapped it all. They just scrapped it all. And now they're instead getting third parties to work on their first party titles or some shit. There's some crazy shit going on right now.
makes you wonder if maybe that's part of the reason why they've gone through so much restructuring all of a sudden. They've kind of put up the guise of, hey, it's, we're just, doing it because, people are leaving and, just kind of what we wanted to do. But it kind of seems more like they had a realization that maybe things weren't going as well as they thought they should. Because you think about it, if they have this, like, the PlayStation 5 is selling really well, you think it would also probably be doing just as well in software, and it doesn't seem like that it's really able to hold. I mean, I'm sure the software is selling well enough to justify it, but you look at some of the more evergreen titles for other systems, it just doesn't seem like they really have anything that kind of has that longevity. God of War probably, but and Last of Us. I'm sure Last of Us 2 is still selling stupid numbers, and the Last of Us remake. But, really, I'm sure Spider-Man will too. Spider-Man 2, I guess, did very well in Japan when it came out. So that's good. But, yeah, I don't know. I just,
I've also seen a lot of issues with Spider-Man 2 from what I've seen, like, online. Like, people saying that the game was kind of rushed and the story was kind of dog shit. And it was very glitchy, the glitchiest Sony game they've ever played. So,
I mean, I like the video that Nick sent to us where it's kind of like just walking and then falls through the floor into like oblivion, and then the car's playing or whatever.
Yeah, that one was good.
Yeah. So I mean, there definitely are like some, glitchy things, but yeah, I mean, every game has. I was just talking about Walking Through Walls of Vampire Survivor, and that's like an 8-bit game, and could probably run on like a iPod Nano. So, I don't know, but yeah, no, they definitely, I honestly think realistically, just kind of looking at what's come out the last few years between both Sony and Microsoft, they definitely have some pipeline issues that they need to sort out. I'm not, Sony seems to be more like structurally based, kind of trying to get all lined up in the right direction, because we talk about it all the time. It just seems like they're all over the place. Like their hardware division doesn't really seem to know what everyone else is doing, and the software teams are just kind of running all over the place. And then you have Microsoft, where it just seems like they're like, oh great, we got these game studios, make some cool stuff, and they're like
nothing releases.
Yeah, because it's just like, hey, we have some cool ideas, and they're like, well, okay, just keep working on them until you think they're really cool, and then they just are still working on them. Like, when was that Perfect Dark game announced? Like 4 years ago? I don't even remember. It's been so long, and they have all these other IPs, and it just seems like they just don't do anything with them. Yeah. So it's interesting. I think it's kind of one of those, they need to kind of wrangle them back a little bit and be like, okay, well, let's just get things where they need to be, and get set actual deadlines and hold people to them. So they do them. But it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing and where it ends up going. But definitely, too early to see right now. I think kind of a good example of what I was just talking about with Microsoft was, what was that absolute trash game that came out from Bethesda earlier this year?
Oh, you mean Redfall?
Yeah.
Because
that just screams like, hey, make something cool, and they're like, yeah, we got a cool idea. And then
I told you what happened with Redfall. They literally just released it in whatever state is humanly possible, because but they were like not working on it well enough, and they basically told Microsoft this is not fit to be released, and Microsoft's like, fuck it, we'll do it anyway. And they had actually been attempting to get the game canceled this whole time, like Bethesda was, by like doing the bare minimum to be like, yeah, we're working on it.
Because they see Office Space, that always backfires. Like you can't.
Yeah. And the issue was, kind of like we were talking about with lack of direction. It was originally a live service game.
Mm-hmm.
And within the last year, they changed it, leading up to now. So they changed it from a live service to a paid game, and they were like, just remove the live service stuff, and it'll be fine. But it definitely was not fine.
Nope. Narrator, and it was definitely not fine. But I think that's kind of one of the problems that we've had with games since the beginning of time, where it's always like, they try to jump in on like the latest monetization scheme, and then it just backfires because it wasn't designed for it originally.
Yeah,
And
Sony was gonna do what was it? NFT stuff. So it's like, yeah, and live service stuff. So it's like, yeah, maybe no. Square Enix was gonna do NFTs. Sorry, not Sony. Square Enix was gonna do NFTs, and then everyone was like, no. And then the market crashed, and Square Enix was like, uh oh.
yeah, and it just it makes sense with certain things, and it doesn't make sense with other things. It's kind of like I was just reading something about Dead Space 3, and that was kind of the thing that came up where it's like it was so hot to push Dead Space into action adventure, where it's like you took basically what you ended up doing was you took a top-notch horror game and turned it into an action game where it was basically ended up being a subpar action game compared to games that are actually designed to be action games. Which I think honestly, really, if you boil down the problems with Dead Space, that's probably the biggest one. You're trying to shovel it into somewhere it's not, and it's not going to do well in that genre because it wasn't designed for it, and there's already better competitors in that space. And you kind of saw that a bit with if you looked at Resident Evil, from 4 to 5 to 6, they kind of fell into that same kind of thing. Like, oh yeah, we're making it action based. Oh yeah, co-op's a hot thing now. And then like the difference between Resident Evil 4 and Resident Evil 6 is
Meanwhile,
dramatic.
Now Capcom is like fucking literal Game of the Year contenders and everything, and everyone's gushing over RE4 this year. And it's like, that's what we wanted the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Resident Evil 4 was a masterpiece for a lot of reasons. Like, it really kind of, reinvented a lot of things, and it was not only a good game, but it was an important game. Sometimes you get games that are, they're only good games or they're only important games, but Resident Evil 4 definitely falls in the category of both. I think a game that's more important than good is Ico. Ico is a trash game, but it's a very important game.
Yeah, because it's the sequel. No, it's the prequel to
Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus. That's it.
Yeah, lots of issues, but a lot of the concepts that were made there, eventually kind of found their way into other games. Then it helps spurn a lot of different games that came after it, and it was definitely a very important game for what it did at the time, and kind of the boundaries that it pushed in terms of storytelling. But not a great game to play for a lot of reasons. So, so I don't know. And then obviously, good games are a dime a dozen, but it's like you can think of a ton of good games, but they're not important for a lot of reasons. It's like they did a really good job at being a good game, but they didn't really, push anything. So, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like, good games are great, but if you're trying to stand out and redefine video gaming, you're not going to get much in that regard. So, So, what else do you want to talk about today?
I really don't have that much else to talk about. I mean, like, I gushed about Alan Wake. I kind of want to play more Alan Wake, and that's what I plan on doing when I'm done here. Mm-hmm. So, can we be done here?
Yeah, we can be done here. All right, let's wrap her up.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to us tonight. Don't forget to buy us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Amazon, wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a website, game-crunch.com, which has all of our episodes. If you want to reach out to us, we're on Facebook, or you can send us an email at gamecrunchcast@gmail.com. Brandon?
Yep.
Any final thoughts?
Play Alan Wake 2 if you've played Alan Wake. And if you haven't played Control, play Control. Please.
Okay.
So there you go.
I feel like you're speaking to me directly.
Kind of, but I will also say one other thing. I mentioned that like the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was like pretty good. I decided to do a little bit of research while we were talking and everything. It was directly had much like the One Piece TV show. It had the original creator writing with the staff and helping them along the way the whole time as well. So the creator of the games helped write the movie. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I definitely think a lot of things benefit from that.
Have you watched One Piece yet? Like the live action? It's very good.
Yeah, I remember asking you about it a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And because I've heard it was very good.
It is.
But yeah, no, I have not watched it. I think, I think the most recent thing we talked about maybe starting to watch was who's the guy we talked about that made the House Usher thing? Mike Flanagan, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
Talk about watching more of his kind of anthology stuff on Netflix,
Mm-hmm.
like the Haunting of.
Oh, you haven't watched
whatever it
those?
is.
I thought you hadn't seen. I thought you'd seen Hill House and stuff
Nope,
like
I
that.
haven't watched any of them.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah,
I've
that's what
watched
I
them.
heard.
Yeah, they're great. I highly recommend those.
Yeah, so I figured I'd watch it. I heard they're very like American Horror Story esque.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I was gonna say something. I was like, it reminds me of the movie, and then I was like, wait, that's technically a spoiler. Stop. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No. So that's kind of one of those things that maybe we talked about, but I haven't. I don't know. I get weird with watching things. Sometimes I'm like watching things all the time, and then sometimes I just fall tragically behind on it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I know what you mean.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's probably one of those shows I'll probably watch eventually. I think Netflix made it, so it doesn't seem like it'll go anywhere. It'll just probably tragically end on a cliffhanger after the second season.
Yeah,
So.
I wouldn't even be surprised.
that's more their MO. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I guess with that said, my name is Mike Anastasia.
I'm actually kind of curious, though, right? You were mentioning House of Usher, right?
Yeah.
Are you sure it's not like a sequel to those two films? I mean, those two shows? Because, like, canonically, all of his shows lead into each other.
I mean, it could have some ties to the other ones.
You wouldn't know it with the other shows also, unless, like, you watch them. So it's like, you can watch it as its own thing, but also, canonically, they kind of lead into each other as well.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, too, it's based on, Edgar Allan Poe's works. So obviously that stuff's all kind of, like, tied in between there. But, it's like, they introduce kind of, this universe that has, different elements in it. And, some of those elements that I could see, that aren't, taken from Edgar Allan Poe, I could easily see them tying into other things. But you're right, I wouldn't recognize them if I saw them. So it's possible they could. I guess a lot of the, the kind of like with American Horror Story, they recycle a lot of actors. So it's possible.
So no, it's not.
Okay.
I already checked it out.
There you go. That was easy answer as I rambled.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I was like, the like what you're describing and that sort of thing doesn't sound like something that they would be able to tie into the other stories, and they can't. So
yeah, well, I at least kind of in my mind, I didn't imagine it necessarily as like direct tie-in story wise, but I could have seen it being like, hey, like someone references like the company that they work for, or the lawyer. There is one character in particular that I could see having transcended like the different stories, or even just kind of like sometimes American Horror Story will do things that'll be like reference like what is it? Sometimes they'll have like a character like there's one like there's a clown that was in one of the seasons, and then in like other seasons you'll see the clown as like a comic book character that's kind of like referenced that something's reading, or maybe they'll reference it as like a Halloween costume, kind of things like that. I don't know, they do ties in that way. So I wasn't sure if maybe they did ties similar to that, but if you know what I mean. But,
yeah, they didn't. So
yeah, you never know. They could go back and do it later too.
That's true.
So yeah. But I feel like that series alone was excellent and doesn't really need. I don't think it needs. It's got really solid legs to stand on its own. So, what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, my name's Mike Anastasia. You can find me online. I'm Clash of Penguin, there or on your favorite gaming console. And until next week, game on.
Games.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all we got. So, question with Vampire Survivors, kind of have this like endless mode thing run. if I just want to stop it, do I quit it? Do I get the achievements, or do I have to like die?
I'm not entirely sure on that. Most of the time, I
Okay.
just get myself killed because I go too far anyway. So I
I
don't know.
don't think I can get killed.
Okay.
I don't. I don't think it's possible, Brandon. Like I don't see enemies on the screen. There's way too many. Like they get killed before they even make it to the screen. I barely even see numbers from where they're dying.
Hmm.
Yeah, they just. It's literally I have 9 weapons currently fully maxed out.
Mm-hmm.
And it just my screen is just lines and spikes and bubbles. And like I said, no numbers because the enemies die before they can even get to the screen.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll have to have you tell me more about that, but right now I got to go. So I
Okay.
will talk to you later about that.
Yeah.
All right.
See ya.
Peace out, my dude.